So here's an explanation as to how you can get from the equation of a straight line graph to making the graph. And there are two things that you need to know to get you from the equation to making the graph really quickly. There's a slow way, which is you make a table of values. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting the gradient and the y-intercept from the equation of a straight line graph. So this equation represents this line here, and this equation here represents this line here. So you're going to get two examples of how you can get the gradient and the intercept, and how to draw the graph from the gradient and the intercept really quickly. So first of all, I want to talk about what is y equals mx plus c. I would have mentioned that briefly in an earlier video, but I want to talk about it here again just to remind you. Y equals mx plus c just means when you got y equals something x plus some number, even if that number is negative. If it was a negative number like here, you don't write plus minus 1, you just write minus 1. So there's y equals something x, in this case 3x minus 1. This is also y equals mx plus c format. One y, by the way, is equal to minus 2/5 x. Instead of 3x, I've got minus 2/5 x. That's something x plus 4. Okay, so the two bits that are really important once you've got it in this format are the bits in the number in front of the x. That tells you the gradient. I'm going to talk about what the gradient is, what it means, and what it does. And the number at the end is the y-intercept. I'm going to explain what y-intercept means. That's actually really easy, so I'll probably start with that. But here's a gradient for this one. In this case, the gradient is 3, and the y-intercept is minus 1. The gradient over here is minus 2/5, and the y-intercept is 4. That's how you find them from the equation. So here's your equation. I can pick out the gradient straight away, as long as it's in the form y equals mx plus c. I can say that's the gradient 3, the intercept minus 1, as quick as that. That's the gradient minus 2/5, and that's the gradient 4 for this graph here. Okay, what did I say? That's the intercept, I should have said. That's the y-intercept for this line is 4. Anyway, so what does that mean, y-intercept? Let's start with that. Well, the y-intercept is simply where the graph, your graph, so this equation makes this graph, okay, intercepts the y-axis. So you might have heard of the word intercept, usually in sports. So if you intercept the ball between two different players, you're kind of crossing those two players. I don't want to go into that word too much, but basically in maths it means crossing. So this line is crossing the y-axis, so it's the y-intercept because it crosses the y-axis. So this line crosses the y-axis at 4 because it's got a 4 there, right? Okay, this line here, which is made by this equation here, this equation has y-intercept minus 1, so you can see this line crosses the y-axis at minus 1. Simple as that. So that's the y-intercept. Done, explained. Let's talk about the gradient. The gradient, there are two things I want to explain here. There's the fact that you can sometimes have positive and negative gradients. So this is a negative gradient, this is a positive 3, so it's a positive gradient. It doesn't say plus 3, but 3 is automatically plus 3, right? I want to start off with explaining this one, this gradient. The fraction gradient, because this is a whole number gradient. The fraction gradient is actually easier to explain because all gradients are really actually fractions. So if this gradient is not written as a fraction, you have to turn it into a fraction to be able to explain it. So here we go. First of all, the negative sign in front as part of the gradient, the negative gradient means that it's going downwards if you're going from left to right, and you should be going from left to right because horizontally, okay, the horizontal positive direction, like this arrow tells you, is from left to right, towards the right. Okay, if you go left on the x-axis, which is the horizontal direction, you can't go minus, right? So we're always going from left to right, and this gradient is going downwards if the gradient is negative. Negative gradients go downwards if you're going from left to right, and they go upwards like this positive 3 gradient does. They go upwards if they're positive. So that's a positive gradient, and this downwards one is a negative gradient. Now let's talk about the other part of the meaning of the word gradient. Gradient also means steepness. Okay, not just direction. So the steepness is measured by the fraction. Like I said, a gradient is actually a fraction, and the two bits of the fraction tell you how steep it is. Basically, the gradient is the vertical direction divided by the horizontal direction you move for every step on that line. So you can see a 5 and a 2. I'm going 5 across and 2 down. This is -2 because downwards is negative, right? So you're going 5 across and 2 down, and if you put that as a fraction, so the vertical direction divided by the horizontal direction, you get -2/5, which makes overall -2/5. So anyway, so you go 5 across, 2 down, make a dot, go 5 across, 2 down, make another dot, and then you can make a nice line, starting from your y-axis. So that's the tip for drawing your line really quickly. You just start from your y-axis, use that as your starting point. It doesn't have to be, but it's a good tip that you start from the y-axis, because it's very easy to get the y-intercept, and then start using your gradient to move along the line, or start creating the line, I should say. So you go 5 across, 2 down, make a dot, go 5 across and 2 down again, 2 squares down, make another dot over there, and then start connecting the dots, and you get a nice straight line. You know, obviously connect it with a ruler. That's common sense, right? And also, your teachers would like you to, usually, if it's easily possible, draw your line long enough to cross both axes. Definitely, obviously, cross the y-axis. But when I say cross the y-axis, I don't want it to just start from the y-axis and go one way. The teachers, me included, would like the line to go that way as well. So if this space on your grid, go 5 across and 2 up as well, and make a dot there, and connect it like that, and make it continue a little bit beyond the axes. So that's this equation produced by this line. Let's give you a second example to give you a better idea. So here's another line, or another equation, y equals 3x minus 1, which is supposed to produce this line. Again, we're going to start from the y-axis, the y-intercept. So this is the y-intercept minus 1. So start from the y-intercept. Now we need to go up the line, or start creating the line by going up using the gradient. Now the gradient, it says 3. The 3 is not a fraction. We want a fraction to be able to produce our gradient. Now you should know that 3 is the same as 3 over 1. So any whole number can be written as itself over 1. So if it was gradient 5, I'll write 5 over 1. Yeah? And I'm not going to explain why that is. That's a topic for another video. But just so you know, 3 is 3 over 1, which means it goes 3 vertically for every 1 horizontal step. So let's do that. 1 horizontal step, 3 vertical steps, 3 squares. Okay? So 1 across, 3 up. 1 across, make a dot. So you make a dot from your -1, and then you go 1 across, 3 up, make another dot, go 1 across, 3 up again, make another dot, and you can carry on if you want. You can go negatively if you can, so 3 down, 1 across, that will keep you going in the same direction. Make a dot, so you can, and then connect those dots together, and you get a nice straight line, which crosses the y-axis and the x-axis, and your teacher is happy. Your teacher won't be angry with you if it doesn't cross both axes, because sometimes it doesn't cross within the space of the grid you've got, or etc, whatever, some other reason. So you've got your equation, which gives you the gradient and the y-intercept really easily, and then you can use those two facts to produce your graph really quickly.